Okay, we are going to focus here on pork to start off today's show. We're going to talk to the chairman of the Canadian Pork Council, Rick Bergmann. He was in attendance at Canada's Ag Day. And a lot of issues right now in pork, but at the same time, to be quite honest, there's a lot of opportunity. Like you can't discount that. There is a lot of opportunity now. Pork demand is gaining. A lot of this has to do with what happened in 2019 with ASF and the fact that China has got to accumulate some protein. Now, coronavirus has definitely slowed this down potentially. Canada is in a scenario where, just like beef, if there are a whole bunch of ag exports of pork to China from the U.S. in this $40 billion deal, there's an opportunity for Canada to tag along with that because China has said that the $40 billion deal with the U.S. will not impact other trade lanes. This is an opportunity for Canadian pork, even though in 2019 there was a temporary closure of that border. Here's my conversation with Rick Bergmann of the Canadian Pork Council. Lots going on in the industry. We can't go very far in a pork conversation. Besides bacon, we got to talk about ASF.
Yes.
So far, the North American market successful in its efforts to elude this terrible virus from landing on our shores. That we probably should take great celebration and satisfaction in that, but the work is not done, Rick.
The work has just started. If we sit down and congratulate ourselves, we're going to suffer for that. So a lot of work has happened till now. A lot of work is coming up ahead of us. So it's a daunting, big task. But I believe we can do the very best we can with the teams that we have in place.
I had one official say to me last week, completely off the record, I won't even name them because they would probably be very upset with me, said, from a North American perspective, ASF here in North America, it's not if, it is when. Is that fair? I hope he's wrong, by the way.
Yeah, the risk is so high. We could for sure say that. That said, it's really interesting the faith that our producers have that we can do the good job and continue to do the good job, because across Canada now you still have people that are interested in building, expanding, developing more. Nobody's trying to get out of the business because they recognize the risk, but they also recognize a lot of the good things in place. So on farm, you've got a controlled access zone and you've got a restricted access zone on the farm, and the level of biosecurity and the amount of money that is spent on biosecurity is significant. And so based on the things that have been done to date, there's a hope and a thought that we can avoid this. But as we're going through the process, we also understand that we can't do it on our own. We need to. We've had some great meetings with government. We understand that they understand our world, which is fantastic. And as time goes on, there's going to be a better link or partnership or support or help in that regard to just make sure, Sean, that if we're good now, let's get great and avoid the catastrophic event of ASF in our country.
Right now, 2019 was an ASF story in mainstream media. Of course, now it's moved over to coronavirus. Lack of travel, people kind of being more contained. Has that at all? Has that assisted at all in the trying to slow down the spread of the disease?
Yeah, so there's no formula to say that it has or it hasn't, but just anecdotally, when you think about less travel, that means there's less risk of meats coming into Canada that shouldn't, and that means there's less risk then in having that affect a farm. And so anecdotally, absolutely, I would feel that there would be a benefit there, absolutely.
Why are so many people smuggling protein? Like, before all this, I was not aware there was this much protein smuggling going on, where people are bringing meats from other countries into, right. Why is this?
Well, So are you going to judge me if I pull out some bacon from my suit jacket right now?
No, I would understand bacon.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I would understand bacon.
Good. So great question. So it's a very cultural thing. So we all have our favorite foods here in Canada, North America, and in Asian countries they have the same thing. It's a traditional food that they would enjoy, and so it's a very cultural thing. But in the 1950s it worked, but we're in 2020 now, when the stakes are higher, the risks are higher. So that practice can be a big game changer for us today in agriculture.
Right now in the U.S., so much discussion about the farm profitability. In Canada, it is also a big discussion. Of course, U.S. growers have been getting ad hoc payments for the last 2 years. Where does the Canadian pork producer sit in this? ASF, of course, caused some damage to some of the markets, but there's some pent-up demand. I'll tell you what, last week I was at the NCBA meeting in San Antonio, which is a cattle convention, and they talked about how ASF, even for beef, is this huge opportunity. So how's pork producer profitability here in Canada? Yeah,
well, Canada's vast in geographic areas, and the models within the farms are different as well. So that's a great question. I would say in some regions it's better than in other regions. It's not catastrophic right now, which is great. I mean, in summer when our trade was restricted, that really hurts. That really hurts the chain in the pork sector. So as you know, we're a major exporter. 70% of what we produce leaves our country. That's massive. So we see that we have to continue to do all that we can on farm, and to your point, when you see things that are occurring in the U.S. where there's support and so on, that's not lost on us, and we've been having some good discussions with government in different ways. So ASF is such a risk, and for us to be able to prevent it is worth an awful lot. So then we have to invest. We all have to invest in that, because I'll tell you what, if we would have that to come in our country today, it would affect so many hundreds of thousands of people with their employment, from truckers to scientists to researchers to naturally it all starts on the farm, right? So it's a big daunting focus, and so we look forward to continued discussions and dialogue with our federal government, and we sure appreciate all that they've done to date as far as understanding our concern, and that the door is always open for further discussion. So
are they putting enough money to it? Has the federal government stepped up enough financially wise to create these programs to prevent it from coming over here? Right.
So you've heard it in different circles about the review of the business risk management program and so on. So it gives us a lot of encouragement to know that that is being reviewed right now, because as it is now, as a producer, it's not working for me, and I know it's not working for my neighbors. So if it's not working for me and for my neighbors, it's pretty good chance that it's not working for a lot of people. But it's recognized, and it's not a criticism. So the government is open to reviewing that, which we applaud them for, and through good organizations like ourselves and Canadian Federation of Agriculture, there's good dialogue that's happening with that. And
right.
So it's a process, as you can well imagine, to move that bar to a point where it's a bit more beneficial.
I think the best context for people to understand the what if of ASF is just use the example of BSE. And you talked about, it's all the people that are truckers, it's the people that are veterinarians. Like it has way bigger tentacles than just the people that are in the barns producing pork.
Absolutely, and let's start firstly on the farm, and the devastation that BSE created affected some farms dramatically. The cut was deep that even now, years and years after, they still remember it, and they might look out the window and they won't see the cattle because they're gone, right? So that's really affected that population. And again, to your point, all the dominoes that fall with that. So again, with ASF prevention, we have an opportunity to do our very, very best. And so the staff at Canadian Pork Council, the directors, the pork promotion or the pork organizations across the country, they're all spending a lot of effort on this. CFIA is pouring themselves into it, AFC. So I look at that team and the cohesiveness of trying to prevent. So we talk about a lot of different things, and we're excited about the fact that there's open discussion and a willingness to listen to each other. So then I'm hopeful that the outcome is going to be something that will be really beneficial for producers here in Canada.
Hey, Rick, really appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of Canada's Ag Day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Super celebration. Thank you very much.